Hello, my name is Matthew, and we are on shelf 32 of my tiny house library tour. And if you're interested in any of the books I'm going to show, please let me know. You can send me an email and we can work something out. You'll be supporting my plans to visit Spain. I have a GoFundMe link as well if that might interest you. But let's look at the books. The first one is a gift from my friend Tony, and it's Cyrano de Bergerac by Rodstand. Is it Edmund Rodstand? I always forget. Edmund Rodstand. And it's a great play. It's beautiful. This is a really fun edition. The typography jumps up and down and it's really dynamic. Has illustrations throughout. And I remember my friend Tony said it's not his favorite translation, but it's his favorite edition. And the collected poems of T.S. Eliot, 1909 to 1962. Slim book full of all the poems that one thinks of when you think about T.S. Eliot. The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, Portrait of a Lady, a bunch of other ones, Geronation, A Cooking Egg. It has The Wasteland, The Hollow Men, Ash Wednesday, and the four quartets, so Burnt Norton, East Coker, The Dries, Salvages, Little Gidding. This is another present, and it's a beautiful edition of Candide by Voltaire. Let me see who translated this. Translated from the French by Tobias Smollett, or Smollett. It's got great illustrations as well. Best of All Possible Worlds. The Pale King by David Foster Wallace. And I really have a sweet spot for posthumous, unfinished novels. And even the premise of the book, when I first heard it, amused me. A purposefully boring book about the IRS and long passages of tax code. And the inside, I don't know if you could see that. I liked it. I enjoyed it much more than Infinite Jest. But yeah, it's unfinished novel. Two books by Will Self. We have Liver. Really cool edition, Liver. So this is a collection of short stories. Foy Humane, Liber Nodal, Prometheus, Birdie Num Num. But they all kind of revolve around this theme of drinking and the spleen and bile and things like that. And then the butt, the cigarette butt, a innocent cigarette butt that sets off a whole series of unexpected events. So we have Will Self smoking and drinking. I was really excited when this came out. I was really excited when this came out. I thought that I had 2 copies of this. I must have given the other one away, but it's Echo's Bones, and what does it say on here? It's like an early story that Samuel Beckett had written. I don't know if it was the first time it was published in English, or a very long time since it was published in English. And It's certainly strange. I don't know if it warrants its own very special book. I'm glad I have it though. Um, has a dead character. It's set in a graveyard, and it's very Beckett-esque. Um, it's a Blu-ray of The Tree of Life by Terrence Malick, and I really liked this movie. I liked it enough that I wanted to buy the Blu-ray and have a copy. And it's funny, when I had gotten this, I like watched it that night, or um, watched it pretty much as soon as I got it, and I ended up um, inadvertently playing the director's cut, which is like 3.5 or 4 hours long. I was like 2 hours into this movie and like almost just getting exhausted. Like, what is going on with this movie? It's going on forever. So I never, I still haven't rewatched it. I don't know if I love it enough to sit through 3.5 hours of it. I just saw Jason from Jason Has Books. He did his Friday reads or Saturday reads, and he was just reading this biography. It's the great Oscar Wilde biography by Richard Ellman, and it's just fabulous. Just Oscar Wilde, outside of being an incredible man of letters, he has his novel and handful of plays and other things. His life was just unique, and I think Jason said like he demanded to live his own life. Tragic. Let's see, what is this? Okay, another little hardback copy of Candide. Let's see. This is 1937. It's one of my favorite books. You see Andy? What do you think? Isn't that great? Illustrated by Malon Blaine. It's got some illustrations. And I don't see a translation or translator. Candide and Other Stories. And I'm sure this has like Zadig and Micromegas. This will certainly say. Translated from the French by Roger Pearson. And okay, yeah, Micromegas, Zadig, the Ingenue, and the White Bull. I like all of them. I think Candide is probably the best, but they're all very amusing, and I love that genre. I'm not really sure what you would call that genre. Those little pamphlet tales. Submission, hardback copy of Submission by Black, fitting, by Welbeck. Modern library copy of the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Very worn out copy of The Prince by Machiavelli. I've read this a few times, and I kind of wish it worked me over more, or was more effective. It's a two books in one. It's 1984, An Animal Farm, and like a special edition hardback book, Orwell. And let's see if it has. I thought maybe it was illustrated. 1984 is terrific. Animal Farm really hasn't ever done it for me. I wasn't really reading when I was a teenager, so maybe if I read it as a teenager, I would have had a better impression of it. But the allegories that always seemed so impressive, just always felt on the nose. Like the horse is a workhorse. Border Districts by Gerald Murnane. And I heard about this. I was reading the New Yorker or the London Review or the New York Review or something, and he was like this unknown great writer that all the writers knew about. So he's a writer's writer. Um, and he lives in Australia, out in the middle of nowhere. And uh, everyone in the know knows that he writes these like masterpieces. And I remember in the article it talked about some sort of writing conference that, since they wanted him in attendance, they had to have it in the middle of nowhere in Australia because he's like an eccentric. He doesn't use a phone. He doesn't have the internet. He doesn't get on trains. He doesn't fly. Um, Things like that. And so this is supposed to be like his last great work, the slim thing, and I was unimpressed. I didn't think there was anything all that to write home about. Maybe my expectations were a little high after reading an article like that. It did get me kind of jogged up to see what this guy was up to, but didn't do anything for me. Oh, it's called Border Districts. Did I say that? Border Districts. And it's the only thing I've read by him. This is another gift, a Flaubert biography by Frederick Brown, given to me by Johnny Keene. Thank you again. I haven't had a chance to read it yet. Hardback copy of The Catcher in the Rye. Poor old Holden. Ulysses by James Joyce. This is probably one of my favorite covers. It's just so simple and clever. I love the color choice, the typography, and then, of course, yes, the ending with all of the yeses. This is a Jacques Barzun reader, edited by Michael Murray. Let me see if this thing. I've gone back to this so often. An incredible resource. So there's literary criticism and cultural essays, things on history, and it just has something interesting to say about nearly like everything that I like. So essays or criticism on Swift and Diderot and William Hazlitt, Bernard Shaw, Goethe, Byron, Flaubert, Oscar Wilde, and on and on and on. It's just, yeah, Flaubert's Dictionary of Accepted Ideas. I love this book. It's been an incredible influence on me. Being able to find new authors and new things to discover. It was great. Another gift from a friend that I met through my YouTube channel. It's The Female Quixote by Charlotte Lennox. I still haven't had a chance to read it. I'm looking forward to it. But The Man Without Qualities, Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Robert Musil. Considered another one of the modernist masterpieces. I think it says on here it's in the ranks, shoulder to shoulder with In Search of Lost Time and Ulysses and Magic Mountain and things like that. There's something. It's an odd choice. So this is Volume 2. The majority of this is like unfinished or unpublished additional writing, posthumous writing, but they did something interesting that I don't know I've seen very often, but see, this is the very beginning, and it starts at the page count where this one ends. So it starts at 700 pages, and then as you go along, you're that far in. That's 800 pages. Okay. This would be another a whole read along to get through talking about this. I don't know if I have it in me. Okay. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and Other American Stories by Hunter S. Thompson. Kind of worn and battered. I think for me, Hunter S. Thompson has stayed as welcome. I can't really imagine going back to him. I did find. Okay, well, it does have Ralph Steadman illustrations, which I still do like. Anyway, Oprah's Book Club box set, 3 novels by William Faulkner, Light in August, As I Lay Dying, and The Sound and the Fury. It's a really great box set, and the thing that struck me about this is that this was considerably cheaper than buying these 3 individually. I'm not a huge fan of William Faulkner, but it was a good deal, and I enjoyed my time with all 3 of these books. And I sometimes think that William Faulkner is much funnier than he gets credit for. Anyway. Okay. Rameau's Nephew and First Satire by Dennis Diderot. And Rameau's Nephew is, it's this dialogue where Diderot is, I think he goes into a cafe or a bar, but he goes into this place on like a lazy afternoon. He's kind of walking around and sitting on a bench, makes his way into this place where there's chess players, and he talks about how they're wood pushers. They're pushing wood around. And he runs into Rameau's nephew, and Rameau was a very well-known, highly regarded composer, and I've actually listened to his music after reading the dialogue. And so there's Rameau's nephew. Okay, the dialogue, the names of each character is me and him, very Diderot of him, and they just have this like really like high energy, explosive, uncomfortable conversation where Diderot plays the part of like the straight man, and Rameau's nephew is just outrageous and erratic and unpredictable. And through the course of this conversation, they just talk about a wide range of interesting ideas. I've read it a few times. It's almost like it's comforting. It's one of those enjoyable, something that you can read in an afternoon, and like always know that you can go back to it and read it. I wish that there was, I wish the dialogue form kind of was maintained. I don't know why it died away. And then the First Satire, said it was in here. It's another work by Diderot. I like Diderot. The first of Will Self's trilogy, Umbrella, and this was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize, which I think is how I heard about him to begin with. And I was really impressed with this book. It's strange, hard to follow, but it's exciting, and he takes chances. He has that really peculiar, he's a unique style, and he's verbose. He's always using the biggest word that he can, or the strangest word that he can, and it just works. It really worked on me, and I think, um, especially reading watching interviews with him and seeing um, how he comports himself and listening to him talk and realizing like, okay, yes, it makes a lot of sense that you would write this book. And the title refers to um, what is it? It has an epigraph at the beginning of the book. It says, "A brother is as easily forgotten as an umbrella." James Joyce. It's an discarded umbrella. Part of this takes place in an umbrella factory, which I love. King Lear, one of my favorite tragedies by Shakespeare. I just mentioned that movie Ran by Akira Kurosawa, which is a adaptation of King Lear. Underworld by Don DeLillo. I couldn't finish it. I don't even know if I read half of it. And it just didn't work on me. It wasn't interested. I think this is the one that there's like a lot about baseball. There's baseball in here. I remember that. Is that true? Largely forgettable. I just didn't care to spend the time. Another copy of Paris Spleen by Baudelaire. There's a chance that this book's been moving around the shelves because I feel like I've pulled it out a couple times. The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Between the two things I read, this was the one that I preferred. It's a dystopian novel, a father and son walking down a road, going somewhere. I don't know. Under Milkwood by Dylan Thomas. And this is a play of voices, and it's this little town that are kind of talking back and forth, and it's just magical. I don't. I'd have to reread this. I'd have a really hard time saying why it worked, why it works so well. But yeah, Under Milkwood, and there was. Well, anyway, yeah, I loved this. It was commissioned to be on the radio. It's a original language copy of Sentimental Education by Flaubert. I picked this up. It's one of those things where I love the idea of one day being able to sit down and read the words that Flaubert wrote, the real words that he picked out so meticulously. But not today. Sorry, Flaubert. And okay, everything else is foreign language. This is a gift that my friend Ben got for me. It's Anna Karenina by Tolstoy, translated into the Italian, and it's fallen apart. I mean, Ben knew I wasn't going to be reading it anyway, so it's missing a whole chunk. So someone else decided to do the editing. But yeah, in Italian. It's so interesting. And then I believe this is The Catcher in the Rye in Farsi. Look at that. And a friend of mine went to Iran, where she's from, and did the same thing. Said, does anybody want anything while I'm in Iran? And I said I wanted a book. She got this for me. And it was really funny because she's fluent in Farsi. She's fluent in English, in German, and French. But we met at a coffee shop, and she gives it to me. And while we're sitting there, she picks it up and starts reading it, and goes, this is actually kind of interesting. Can I borrow it? And so she took it back. and read it and enjoyed it, and then gave it back to me. So that was shelf 32. Let me know if you're interested in any of the books. We can work something out. Let me know what you think about the books. Let me know what you think about my thoughts on the books, all of those sorts of things. So leave a comment if you would like, and thank you for watching.